Hello everyone, this is JJ with JJ Connections. I own a luxury watch trading company here in the beautiful state of Florida, and I'm here to talk to you about the 5 reasons that everybody should be wearing a luxury watch. So let's get something out of the way quick. Luxury watches are not just for business people or successful people. If you consider yourself successful, they're for absolutely everyone. When you take a pool of 10 people, 8 out of 10 are wearing a watch of some kind, if it's either an Apple Watch or a Samsung watch or a luxury watch. And the other 2 are probably wearing some type of jewelry or beads, and that's the way that they like to represent themselves. That's the way they like to express their personality onto the world, and that is completely fine. More power to them. For the ones on this side of the court, there are very fans, big fans, and they're very nerdy and very geeky about all the situations that involve luxury timekeeping. Where we're going to be talking about brands, and we're going to be talking about reasons that you should be wearing a luxury watch if you're already a watch person. So if you are a person that does not wear any watches whatsoever, if those are Citizens or Movados or Invictas or any of the other brands, you can skip this video because frankly this is not for you. But for the ones that already have a case of 8 watches in the lower end, like Fossil or Citizen, like I just mentioned, I would completely suggest for you to kind of either sell them on Facebook Marketplace or sell them on the internet, sell them to a friend, and amass all those financial assets and get your first luxury timepiece. So reason number 1 that we're going to be talking about is the one that has to do with the same situation that I was just talking about, which is style and status. Just to give you a bit of background of myself, I'm a mechanical engineer. That is my day job. This is basically my separate business, the type of business that I do during the evenings. And once I started getting into bigger, deeper waters, I started understanding that there's just no way that I could keep dressing as the kid that I was. I needed to transition into the man that I wanted to be, or you can transition into the woman that you wanted to be in the future. And as much as we'd like to keep hip and wearing the sneakers and wearing the jeans and wearing the t-shirts, people are going to judge you for that when you go into social settings. So you can do it and you can present yourself as much as you want, not to hate on anybody. But the reality of the situation is that we live in a world in which as soon as you arrive someplace, people are going to be judging you for the things that you have on. And that is not, unfortunately, I wouldn't want it to be that way, but that is exactly the way it is. And I had a philosophical mentor once who said that we just don't have the time to get to know everybody at a deeper level, so then we decide if you're a bad person or not. We have to judge everybody who we see on site, and then through those visual perceptions is that then we start filtering who should be in our inner circle and not. So when it comes to style and status, that is the way that you present yourself towards society, and then they decide the way that they want to judge you. And so that's the way that you start getting into social circles that maybe you don't belong, but you want to belong potentially in the future. So you can demonstrate with a luxury watch how you can enhance your individual style, and you can express your personality, which is basically the same thing that we've been talking about. We can showcase various watch styles, how they complement different outfits and occasions. This business actually, ironically, started as an Instagram video type business a few years ago, in which it was all basically multiple videos weekly of me just presenting a watch and having different outfits paired to those watches. And it was great. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to trash on my own videos. I just got a little bit more into the sales side of the business when I just started noticing that that's where the income started in. So I just focused on that side. But I love the fact that you can take a watch and you can notice all the different tones that it has, and you can notice the dial and the type of bezel and the type of clasp. Is it a sporty watch? Is it a casual watch? Is it a more of a formal watch? And depending on the type of situation that you might have, or that type of social situation in which you're going to potentially, that is where you choose a watch that complements the rest of the style with the rest of the colors. Either you wanted to pair it with the colors, either blue on blue, or maybe you want to contrast it in order to make it pop out, like a whole white outfit with a black a watch, in order to really make it pop out. Just as the different ways that you really can use to a watch to express yourself socially. Now, coming back to the way that people will judge you on certain things, it is a sense of accomplishment. As a humble guy from Puerto Rico, I never really thought that I was going to get into my career where I was going to be buying a Rolex. To me, in my humble beginnings, I thought that I had to basically save my whole life in order for me to buy a $10,000 asset or a $15,000 asset. But what I did was that I made a business where I could potentially plug money, and then I can cycle those assets month to month. And now I got the opportunity, thankfully, thank God, to actually just wear all these different assets. But if you're not the type of person who's going to be putting a luxury watch business, buying a Rolex and demonstrating that you have the ability to wear a beautiful asset that will potentially increase in value really shows other people that like the finer things in life, that are swimming in other waters, that are potentially clients or really good friends that can put you in other social circles. You're basically telling them, without verbal communication, I am at your level. And if I'm not at your level, I'm getting to your level. So it basically shows a sense of competence, that you understand how social situations work. And that's why I absolutely love watches. It basically speaks for you without you even opening your mouth. The second thing I wanted to talk about is investment and value. Not all watches appreciate in value. Mostly don't appreciate in value. But this is more than appreciating. When COVID hit and all these watches started just going up in value like the stock market, the big boom of mainstream watches happened. As the watches became mainstream, and everybody just wanted one, and a lot of people plugged a lot of money into it, just like everything during COVID, it started gaining its value. So it's not about buying a watch and making it appreciate in value. You got to play the rich game here, and you got to play the successfully financial game. It's about losing the least amount of money. So you have a certain amount of money in which you are going to put into an asset. And if you're going to tell me, which I would never recommend any of my customers, to go into a place, which is a store at the mall, and you're going to put $10,000 into an asset for yourself, and as soon as you leave the store, you lose half of your money or 40% of your money, that will never be a good investment. But if you go into the gray market, into the used market, which is mostly where I operate, you can pay $6,000 for that asset. And if it doesn't appreciate, maybe you lose, but next year, after you used it for a whole year or for two, you can sell it for $5,008, $5,007, and you lost $300. So that is a very, very smart move on the investment of your money. You can use that other $4,300 to put it on whatever it is that you might need in your own business or in your own life. You can go on a trip with that other $4,000. So that's the investment and the value aspect that you should really get consulted with me. I always tell people that a consultation is free. You can call me at any time, shoot me a message like, hey, JJ, I'm eyeing this model of this year with these styles. I will never, ever play the high rolling game and say, oh, you have to do an appointment with me. No, just shoot me a message, comment down in the comments like, hey, I'm looking at this brand, I'm looking at this model, what do you think? I will always tell you a straight yes or no. And just to give you a perception, when it comes to heirloom potential, you can actually give these Rolexes to your son or to your daughter for your next generation. Rolex Submariners in 2002 were $3,000. Now they're 10, 12, 12.5, 13. So I think it's a safe bet to say that you should buy a Rolex now, because in 10 or 20 years time, that is going to be a significant increase in value, especially Rolex. The third thing I wanted to talk about was psychological and personal benefits. So unfortunately, we want to be as self-confident and have the highest self-esteem as we want on a personal level, with our own meditation, with our own prayer, with our own manifestations, with our own words that we say to ourselves in the mirror. But the reality is that it's one brain telling his own brain, I am more of value. And until things don't start happening in real life out there where you operate, you're not really going to you're really not going to be able to fake it till you make it until things actually occur. So the way that you kind of trick your brain into feeling a particular way is, first, you surround yourself with people that are hyping you up all the time, and they recognize the value that you can potentially bring. And second of all, you're going to start surrounding yourself with some certain things that, we don't want to be materialistic, but unfortunately, or fortunately for that aspect, they're going to try to trick yourself in saying, wait a minute, I do have the potential to become a higher self of what I already am. And that could be a good car, that could be a good watch, that could be a good piece of clothing. So all these things are key components into your psychological and personal benefits, because once you start wearing something that has an extreme value that you would never ever even thought that you could own, that's when you really start going into rooms thinking that you are basically the highest stepper in there. And you shouldn't be arrogant, right? Because you always should be humble. But it's just a benefit to yourself to know that people cannot bring you down. Now, when you start wearing a luxury watch, it will boost your self-confidence, and it will give you a sense of accomplishment. You should not let it go to your head and think that you are the best person around, because you're not. Unfortunately, the watch business and the watch world is full of people like this. But as long as you are not like this, you will not attract people like this. For example, I myself had a situation these days where I was at a networking event, and I noticed someone with a really nice watch. And obviously, as someone with a watch business, I went and started a conversation. Hey, I love your I'm not going to say it, because if he does see this video, whatever. I said basically, hey man, I love your two-tone rose gold. And the guy basically answered in a very rude way. And he was going through his own thing. He was looking at a computer and whatnot. But unfortunately, the watch business and the watch world is full of people like that. They have a watch on. They're well dressed. He might have a really nice car outside, and they think that just because of that, they have the right to be treating people in a certain particular way. But when you wear really nice things and then your personality goes against that social construct, which I guess people that wear nice things are not the most humble, you're going to make a big statement, a big foot forward. You're going to have people are going to remember you. And that's exactly why we wear these types of things. Because then the next time that someone sees you, they're going to say, wait a minute, didn't you have that Omega, the Speedmaster, or didn't you have that Breitling Navitimer, or you had that Cartier tank that time? And they're going to just remember how nice you made them feel. So that's a great psychological and personal benefit. The last thing that I'm going to be talking about, and please indulge me here, if you've already arrived at this point in the video, then I know for a fact that you are very interested in watches, and I'm going to talk to you about the last thing, which is craftsmanship and engineering. So to discuss the precision of engineering and handcrafted elements that go into luxury watches, I'm a mechanical engineer. I took 6 years in college in which professors basically told me how systems work and how do you transfer energy from this section to that section. And it was all big gears and manufacturing lines and helicopters and airplanes and transmission lines and HVAC and robots. And it's just all these big gears trying to work with each other to try to transfer energy, sometimes electrical energy, sometimes thermal energy, and then just transfer it to this other side of the system. So there's a group of people that took this small situation around 200 years ago, and they made a whole mechanical system to transfer energy from one point of the system to the other, and it will keep time accurately. Back in 1850, back in 1750, Blancpain was started making watches for royalty back in the 1700s in the classical era. So it's just an example of how the human mind and its capabilities can go, because the components inside this watch are basically almost microscopic. Not with a microscope, but extremely small, and not to the naked eye. You have to actually put some lenses that are enhanced in order for you to actually work on these movements as a watchmaker. So there's such high quality materials, such precious metals. There's sapphire crystals, synthetic ruby crystals that are in the movement to actually reduce the friction among it. And they are meticulously finished components that just withstand the sense of time, in the fact that a well-oiled machine can probably still be keeping really good time after all this time, redundantly. So after craftsmanship and engineering, style and status, investment and value, and psychological and personal benefits, I would say that the last reason is just the business aspect. Luxury watches will teach you more about business than a lot of other bad schools on the internet, where they are talking to you about this vaguely motivational things, in which you have to basically take that message and filter it and basically make it towards yourself and see how are you going to translate that into your own personal life. A luxury watch, as soon as you put it on, you're going to start investigating about its value. You're going to start investigating about its history. You're going to start investigating about the people that actually like to wear this type of luxury asset. And that right there is a biggest business decision, biggest business lesson that you could ever afford. Because that behavior right there is the same way that you should be behaving about everything business-wise that costs some money or can potentially make you some money in your life. You need to know exactly what value and cost you're putting into a particular part of your life. You need to know the history of it, and you need to know the people that might potentially buy this from you or are interested in this, in order for them to then connect you to other circles which are going to be bringing income for yourself and your family. So I hope that you loved this video. Just please click a like downstairs, and I'll be uploading some of these every few weeks once I start getting a schedule going. And I hope to see you guys next time. Just comment anything that you might want me to discuss the next time, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.